the Creator's calendar, which is the Feast of Oil. And we started doing this a couple of years ago. We saw this in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I talked to Scotty about it, and Scotty said, hey, let's do these. Because we found that there was a feast of wine and a feast of oil. Of course, we've got Shavuot, and then on the third day of the 5th month here with a 50-day count, with no more count, down to the Feast of Wine, and then a 50-day count again to the Feast of Oil. And this is where we're at today, is on the Feast of Oil. And Scotty's supposed to be here with us today, and he's running a little late. And we have Kerry Alexander here with us, and he's done quite a few videos on the prophecies and the stars. I kind of can't hardly get past the moon, the sun and the moon, and Kerry's taking us a little deeper and going into the stars. So, and Scotty's done some work with some different videos on the covenants, and also some dates, some specific dates of when a lot of these events have happened. And I believe Scotty said that this day is the day that Moses came down with a second set of tablets. So Scotty's not here right now, so we can't verify that. And Kerry, jump in here anytime. And
that's interesting that it's in number 22.
Number 22.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Number 22, and Kerry mentions number 22, and you, those of you who have a priestly order, and I know a lot of you out there have ordered priestly orders all over the country, because I've sent a lot of, not only this country, but many other countries. And we sent out the priestly order, and you guys may try to follow along with us in the priestly order and kind of get an idea of what we're talking about here. But you'll see in the priestly order, you'll see 4s and 22 show up over and over and over in the priestly order. And of course, 4 points to the Messiah, and 22, of course, 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. It was the 22 letters that made up the Torah. And I have a gentleman that's out in, I'm trying to remember whether he's in Florida or where he might be, but he's done a study based on the fact that every 22 years you'll see a full moon on the first of Aviv in sequences of 22. And if you'll look at your priestly order, you'll see sequences of 4 all the way through your priestly order for 15,288 letters or numbers in sequences of 4 and 22. And of course, when Kerry mentioned 22, the priestly order began with number 22 in the order. His name is Gamal. And of course, Jacob was the 22nd from Adam. There's 22 chromosomes on a DNA molecule, and there's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So you're going to see a lot of 4 and 22. And of course, even when you get to the menorah talks about the little increments, what am I trying to say, that hold the oil, the knobs and the buds in the menorah. And you'll notice that the Messiah is the center of the menorah, and then you've got 3 on each side. And there was 4 little buds in the center of the menorah, which represents the Messiah. And then each one of the other 3 on each side had 3, and it was a total of 22. So you had 4 feeding 22. So when you get really deep into the priestly order and a lot of things that, in the Messiah referred himself to the door 4 times in the book of John, that he is the door. So we're going to see a lot of 4 show up. If you'll look at this, even on your calendar, you'll see the first day of of course, it says in the book of Jubilees, the first of the first, the first of the fourth, the first of the seventh, and the first of the 10th are days of remembrance. So if you'll look, each one of these months start on the fourth day. Days of remembrance, fourth day, Messiah. Fourth day, Messiah. 1, 2, 3, fourth day, Messiah. 1, 2, 3, fourth day, Messiah. You'll see also in the feast, the main feast, the Feast of Unleavened Bread begins on the fourth day. 1, 2, 3, 4, Messiah. The Feast of Yom Teruah begins on the fourth day. 1, 2, 3, 4, Messiah. Feast of Sukkot begins on the fourth day. 1, 2, 3, 4, Messiah. Fourth day. So you'll see that all over the calendar. You'll see that all over the priestly order. And any of you that think that this calendar or this priestly order or this isn't the right one, I maybe want to do some studying and find the right calendar.
Can I read
Sure.
something here in John chapter 10? I want to read it and kind of say a little thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
It says, verse 1, "Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter through the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up by another way," which we know that the way and the path is, the way of the constellations and also the calendar and also the priestly order. It's all together.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have all these doors and gates and ways in all of this. And so if you are looking at a Messiah that's coming through another way, it could very well be the wrong Messiah.
Wrong Messiah. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's pretty amazing when you really study this and study the calendar and study the priestly order. But one thing that I wanted to do today is I've noticed some things, and if you can remember some of our older videos, we have looked at this priestly order, and even though this priestly order came out about 2,500 years after creation, we're finding that the priests and their names in Hebrew in the priestly order fit biblical events. Now, when the book of Jubilees gives you a Jubilee year of an event, it gives you a Shemitah year within that Jubilee, and these are all Shemitahs, Shemitah years within a Jubilee. If it gives you a year within that Shemitah and that Jubilee, and a month and a day, we can calculate and look at that event and place the priest in that event, and his name will fit the biblical event. And what's really the amazing thing about it is that, like I say, this shows up during the days of David, the priestly order, but you can go back all the way to creation and you can see these priests and their names showing up with the events at different places, and it's just amazing. But what I wanted to do is I got to looking at, and I thought, the biblical events, there's Scotty. Scotty's here now. He's the late Scotty Whitman. Like I say, he's done some work on this calendar, and you may want to email him and ask him about the questions that he's put up. But I pretty well know what I've got. But when it comes to some of Scotty's and some of Carrie's, we have them here. So hopefully, if we run into a problem, we can straighten it out. But I got to looking at this and I thought, the end of days, if this scenario fits biblical events all the way back to the days of Noah, and then the Exodus, and then the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah, then it'll probably fit the events at the end of the age. And this is something that I got to looking at, and I thought, well, I'm going to wait until another event happens before I really say anything about this, and this other event happens. So If you can remember, Carrie talked about the eclipse came over the United States. That happened on the second day of the 6th month. Now, I'm pretty well acclimated to this calendar, and a lot of the Gregorian calendar dates I don't really remember. That was August the 21st. August the 21st was the second day of the 6th month. So what's really interesting when we got to looking at this is that if you'll count 40 days on this calendar from that event, you'll come to 40th day is Yom Kippur. So that kind of struck a bell. That's pretty interesting. 40 days. And of course, when you look at 40 days is the time of testing. The waters were on the flood. It rained 40 days, 40 nights. David was tested for 40 days by Goliath. The Messiah, 40 days in the wilderness. It's a time of testing. And, and it really looks like we here in the United States are in a time of testing, without a doubt. And another thing that was interesting is in one of Carrie's videos, he talked about the dragon, the sign in Revelation chapter 12 of the woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and the 12 stars over her head. And the date that this is going to show up. And this was another thing that was amazing, is that it was on the 4th day, it was on this Sabbath between Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur. And those of you that are familiar with this, between Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur is the 10 days of awe. It's the 10 days to get it right before judgment at Yom Kippur. So this dragon shows up, or not the dragon, but the woman shows up on the Shabbat, on the 4th day. Messiah, here again, 1, 2, 3, 4, the door, on the 4th day. And this day happens to be Shabbat Teshuvah, to return, the Sabbath of return, to repent. Teshuvah means repent. So we got to look at that and say, is that coincidence? Then it just kept building. Then I got to looking at the priestly order. Most of the guys out here that have emailed me and they understand the priestly order are convinced that we're in the second year of the rotation of the priestly order, beginning with Jedediah. You out there that are studying the priestly order, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys, I didn't have enough priestly orders, but some of you got some priestly orders to look at. This is not something you're going to learn overnight. But this particular week, this discourse starts out this week with Mazziah. It's number 21 in the order, or 24 in the order. But what was really interesting is the next week started out with Jehorabab. Jehorabab, number 1 in the order. Jehorabab means Yah will contend, judgment. He was the same priest that was on the 17th day of the 2nd month when the Creator closed the door to the ark and it began to rain in the days of Noah. Exactly the same priest. He shows up 1 week later. And what happened 1 week later happened a little bit here, but Houston gets hit by Category 4 hurricane and it starts to rain. 48 to 50 some inches of rain during Jehorabab when it started raining in the days of Noah.
7 days later.
7 days later. Coincidence?
I don't think so.
Then the next week, The next week, we had Jedediah. He's number 2 in the order. Jedediah shows up. Jedediah means Yah has known. We had a lull during this week, during Yah has known. And then this week, we've got Hiram. Hiram is number 3 in the order. He shows up right here. This is his first week. Today, when I got up, turned on the Weather Channel, we got a Category 4 hurricane that's about to hit Naples, Florida, all the way up the east coast or west coast of Florida. That's going to inundate all of the state of Oklahoma, Florida. Sorry, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm thinking about Oklahoma. So thank goodness it's not going to hit us, Gary.
What does Hiram mean?
But Hiram means, I've got glasses. Hiram means snub-nosed. It also means especially destruction, physically and reflectively make accursed, consecrate, utterly destroy, make, take away.
Snub nose like a punch in the face.
Like a punch in the face. Destruction. With the second hurricane that's hitting the United States. On Hiram. More judgment. Another thing that I found out about Hiram is Hiram, from the best I can calculate, was the priest that was on in the order at the time that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Destruction. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Hiram. Then we go to the next priest, who would begin here. This would be his first day, and his name is Seorim. Seorim means barley. Barley grains. He was the same priest that was on at the Exodus when the children of Israel left Egypt. Seorim was in the order when they left on the 4th day. It was the 4th day of Seorim. Remember when we talked about the Messiah being number 4, 4th day of Seorim left. On the 4th day of Hiram, going back to Hiram, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed right here on the 4th day. 1, 2, 3, 4th on the first day of the 4th month. There's your 4 showing up again. 4. 4th day of Seorim, they left Egypt. We haven't gotten to the 4th day of Seorim yet, as of right now, because we're at the 22nd day, but the 4th day of Seorim is going to be 1, 2, 3, Yom Teruah. 4th day of Seorim, Yom Teruah. Same priest that was on when they left Egypt. We see that the woman is going to go into the wilderness. We're going to have the woman going into the wilderness. Is this going to be a picture? We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a prophet. I'm just looking at this, and we're putting all of this together. We're learning. Like I say, we've got Scotty here. We've got Carrie here. We've got many sharp minds here. So we're looking at this, and it's pretty interesting. So we got Sioram here. And what's really interesting is here again, once we get to Sioram, then we have number 5 in the order show up, and his name is Malchijai, a king of, appointed by Yah. He's the same priest that was on when the children of Israel crossed over the Red Sea. Malchijai, a king of, appointed by Yah. Same root word as Melchizedek. When Moses raised up his staff, he said, stand back and see the salvation of Yahuwah. Malchijai, king of, appointed by Yah, led them across. So we got him showing up here, and he shows up on this Sabbat because he's going to come in at the end of this Sabbat right here, and his first day is going to be here. So the fourth day, the day that the woman shows up, of the sun, clothed in the sun, moon, and the stars, and she's going to put forth a man-child. Is this a picture of the Messiah that was born years ago? And if you look at some of my other videos, you'll see that from what I can calculate, the Messiah was born under Malchijai on the feast of Yom Kippur, and he was born under Malchijai. Now we got Malchijai showing up again, the king of, appointed by Yah. He was born a king. That's when he was born. If you really study the priestly order, you can go back and say, oh, there's the Messiah again. But there's your fourth day. There's the Messiah, Malchijai, king of, appointed by Yah, and the dragon's ready to devour the man-child. Coincidence? I don't know. So he's on all this week, starting at the end of the Sabbath, and then all this week, and he'll be on during Yom Kippur, and then we go to Sukkot. First day of Sukkot is Malchijai. Malchijai meaning the right hand. That's the first day. That's the first day of Sukkot. Here again, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Messiah. Fourth day. Majam, right hand. What does he say? That he's going to take the sheep and the goats, separate the sheep from the goats. He's going to place the sheep on the right hand and place the goats on the left hand. Sukkot. You know, we've been doing these, these are all holy convocations, and they're practice days. We're practicing for future events. One of these days, these last 3 feasts are going to be fulfilled by our Messiah. We're going to go into the wilderness. Things are going to happen. And like I say, when I saw the first sign come up, I thought, maybe this hurricane, is it Harvey? Yeah. And then when the second one came in, and then you saw what Harvey, I said, well, you know, Harvey shows up on Jehorbab, meaning judgment. And then here comes the next one 2 weeks later, and it shows up, and his under Hiram, and his name means total destruction. And here again, we've got some more days in here as of our meeting together, and when this video goes out, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the hurricane season's not over with.
No.
They're anticipating even more hurricanes.
Really? I read yesterday morning in the local paper, and this was a secular writer, and he said, what is going on? He said, we've got 8.2 earthquakes in Mexico. We've got hurricanes hitting our coast. We've got the whole western part of the country, including Montana. Fires are burning. and Canada, and you won't see this on your regular news, but Frida, you told me that the BIA firefighters are up in Montana now and don't know when they're going to be able to come back home.
They've been there for quite a while.
Yeah, and she works for the BIA, so she knows when the firefighters go and when they, they're still up there. But you don't hear that much about what's going on with fires.
Well, we can even look at the skies every night and see the sun setting, and fires are there. It's obvious by the red sunset.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the haze every evening.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Now that's way away.
We're getting a lot of guys, especially the people out on the West Coast, that have made sundials. I had a email from a gentleman from Idaho the other day. He said they can't even see the North Star to set up his sundial because there's too much smoke in the air. And it's hard for us to set our sundials up because we've got so many chemtrails in the air out here. So it's kind of hard to set them up. But the good part about this calendar is that you can line it up. If you can't line it up with a sundial, you got your priestly order you can line it up with. You've got your songs of your Sabbath sacrifice you can line it up with. You've got all kinds of different different ways. Sorry about that. Different ways of lining this up without using your sundial. I mean, you got two other indicators that you can utilize for this calendar, and like I say, all three indicators will point to the same conclusion. So it's kind of hard to debunk it based on the fact that we got three witnesses that point right to it. And then when you look at all of the biblical events, all the way back to the days of Noah and the Exodus, when Isaac was offered up, the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah, and even when he was born, you got a lot, just overwhelming evidence that fits this. Go ahead, Gary.
I wanted to go back to the earthquake that happened in Mexico. There was a solar flare, one of the largest solar flares that they've seen.
Yeah.
That hit like a day before.
Mm-hmm. And even into the day, because I saw that. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what caused
The earthquake. Yeah.
Right there in Mexico, because the solar flare hit right there in that area.
Yeah.
The hardest.
Yeah. That day, all of the instruments in my pickup were all messed up. I couldn't figure what has happened. Everything was completely out of whack. And I don't know that much about how to fix any of that. And I just, but it was a huge solar flare that caused that and the earthquake they're saying.
I heard on the Sabbath that there was another solar flare that was X-class 10.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was an X-class 8.
8, yeah.
But this is this is strong standards.
Yeah.
So we could possibly real soon see another earthquake somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows what we're going to see? We got saber rattling, with wars and rumors of wars and the thing that's going on with North Korea and, like you say, earthquakes. Who knows what's going to be next? But we've got quite a few more days until we get to this 40th day, Yom Kippur.
And really, it's really nothing to fear. None of
No.
this is anything to fear if you're on Yah's side,
Yeah.
right? But what it's doing is it's marking days for us.
Yeah.
It's showing how it's going through His sacred calendar.
Yeah. Teach us to number our days.
Yeah.
There's probably more to that than just counting an Omar count.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, you're showing us how to mark our days.
Yeah, like I say, when these things, there's just too many things in here for this to go unnoticed. Earth, fire, wind, and water. Yeah.
There are 4 messengers that are over all those.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything, any questions?
Those solar flares that you were just talking about, who were the priests during those solar flares?
That would have been last week. Hiram's on today. Jedediah, as far as I can tell. Jedediah, Yah is known.
And then when he was just talking
On
about
that.
the started Sabbath, who was that?
That started the Sabbath.
Yeah, he said that there was another from a mass ejection that was detected on the Sabbath.
Okay, that would have been Hiram, the one we're talking about, destruction. So it looks like Hiram's got a little more. He's a little more active than just producing a hurricane, because it would have been Hiram. Sure would have been destruction. Okay. Shalom until we meet again.